Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. I'm just covering what we have already covered. I'm planning to go the same sequence, so I'm not making any accommodation for Rahul so much. But if you have any questions, stop me and inshallah we can go over if there's any confusion. Okay. But basically I find this to be the basics. Okay. And I think oftentimes we make complicated things into basics. Okay. But the earliest revelations that came down, so the Quran is not revealed as a single book at the same time. Okay. Quran is revealed piecemeal. Okay. So the earliest revelation that comes down, that's going to be the most important foundational elements of Islam itself. Okay. So what we're covering is the last 30th section of the Quran. Okay, this last 30th section is one of the latest or the earliest chapters to be revealed. Okay, so these are our foundations. Okay, so one of the things is point number one, what is the goal of Islam itself? Okay, can anyone remind me what's the goal of Islam?
To worship Allah.
Okay, anyone else? Because then I can come back and say, why do we worship Allah? Why?
I always give the right answer for this.
Yes.
Right? Taqwa.
No, I said then why taqwa?
Okay.
If we worship Allah to achieve taqwa, why are we aiming for taqwa? What's the objective here? But why?
To sustain ourselves. To attain Jannah.
Okay, here's the thing. I think if Allah can be pleased with us, but does He need it?
No.
He doesn't need our pleasure, or He doesn't need our worship at all. Okay, so I think everybody understand that aspect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need anything from us. So when we are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, if Allah is pleased with us, meaning it's not a benefit for us per se. Okay, what's the benefit for us if you're worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So when I say goal, right, the why. Okay, so when you say worship is the what. Okay, but why are we actually worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, so what's the benefit in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And we say, okay, the goal is to achieve taqwa. But why do we want to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, so a critical goal of Islam itself is to, and this is all of the rules and regulation will come back to this goal and objective. Okay, move away from transgression towards taqwa. Okay, so transgression, the Arabic word is tughyan, and taqwa is God consciousness. Still, I haven't answered it perfectly, right? But the objective here is, what Islam wants from us is, if we are muttaqeen, if we achieve taqwa, then we are going to be either ourselves limit the transgression that we do, or be able to move forward in order to stop transgression in the world. Okay, but if someone does not have taqwa, do they stop wrongdoing?
No.
Okay, and this is a critical point for us to understand, because where does objective morality come from? Okay, objectivity can only come when you move away from your race, move away from your nationality, move away from your own biases, move away from your own prejudices. And the only way to do that is someone who doesn't have any need from you. So if God has nothing and doesn't want anything from you, doesn't need any from you, right? Of course, He wants you to be good, okay? But He doesn't need that, okay? So whatever God gives you is going to be for your true benefit, okay? So when you say God consciousness now, when you say taqwa, this is true objective morality at this point, okay? Whereas, even I would say, someone says, okay, can Muslims because this was also an objective of what goal of Islam, to enter Jannah. Okay, so someone can say, can a Muslim, just because you're Muslim, do all Muslims enter Jannah?
No.
Explain.
They do, but maybe not initially, later on.
Okay, so you're saying that someone who is born Muslim, raised Muslims, they are entering Jannah
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, on what basis do you say that?
That they believe in a prophet and a religion, that there is no God but Allah.
Okay, so now let's say the same individual, okay, there's belief, but he never acted upon it. But he claimed to be a Muslim. I believe there's one God. But on top of that, he's constantly committing wrongdoing. Okay, now what's the result there?
Depends on. We don't know.
We don't know. I get it. Okay, so of course everything is with Allah. So now we can say someone who is Christian, someone who is Jew, someone who is neutral, right? They didn't commit shirk. Okay, then we can also say that depends with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, the problem becomes is Muslim, look at this, capital M Muslim versus small letter Muslim. What's the difference? Yeah, but what does it mean? Yes.
One says he is Muslim, the other
Acts upon
acts
it.
on it.
Okay, so one is an identity, right? So Imran, I'm going to say I, capital I, right? That's my name. Okay, so it's a proper noun. It's an identity. But Muslim is someone who actually submits. Okay, so if you understand this, was Ibrahim alayhi salam a Muslim? Which one?
Small.
Was he a capital Muslim or was he a small M Muslim? Because the capital M Muslim didn't exist at that time. Okay, so when he's submitting, okay, he's submitting, right? So his description is Islam because he's submitting. Islam means to submit. So Muslim is someone who submitted. Okay, when we say Musa alayhi salam is a Muslim, okay, did capital M Muslim exist? Capital M exist?
No.
That came later on, right? It's going to come as an identity later on. But what are they calling themselves at that time? Bani Israel. Okay, they are the people of Israel, right? They're the children of Israel, and it's an honorable term for them, for Musa alayhi salam, because Israel is Yaqub alayhi salam. So why wouldn't I call myself child of Yaqub? Okay, so but here's the thing: is he a small M Muslim? He is, because he has fully submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same thing for Isa alayhi salam. He's coming as a follower of Musa alayhi salam. So he's not coming as a capital M Muslim. He's coming as this. Okay. So my point here is, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive anybody he wants. Okay. But the issue is sometimes we associate Jannah with capital M Muslim. But what if this person never, and I'm not talking about judge other people. I'm going to look at your personal self. Okay. If I'm going to claim to be a Muslim, but I never follow the rules of Islam, I never submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm doing so much wrong, can I escape the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, and this is a critical thing for us to understand. Even for someone says, okay, he has a tinge of Islam, he will eventually enter Jannah. We said in Surah Naba, it says, لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. They will remain in Jahannam for a generation, or not a generation, multiple generations. Okay, so when we understand this, our goal is to submit. Okay, submit to what? Submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that we're moving away from transgression altogether. Okay, and if we have taqwa, what that should lead to is two things. I'm just going below this. Okay, one is inna al-abrara lafi na'im. Okay, so this leads to a bir, the characteristics of bir. Okay, so what is bir? We can say bir is going to be iman and amal salih. Okay, so if you're following, if you're moving away from transgression, Number one, the only way to move away from transgression is to be objective with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? If we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to put that fear into action by doing righteous things. And then what is that righteousness? That righteousness has to be based on Iman and solving problems correctly. Okay. Now, quick point, a review. What is Salah? Okay. Salah, not prayer. Okay, because there's two words here, right? Salat, which is prayer. Okay, Salah, which is a different type of a hal. Okay, so this one will come إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Okay, so this Salah is solving problems with, I'm going to leave it a blank. Okay, and I'll explain this in a moment. The opposite of Salah is Fasad. Who knows what Fasad means?
Creating problems. Something bad.
Bad, creating problems. Okay, I'm going to say it's also solving problems. Okay, but you're right. Okay, because it's going to lead to problems. Because what the problem here is, what are they solving the problem with? Okay, so Salah is solving problems through, I want to say, Iman, and more specifically, Quran. Okay, through guidance. Okay, I want to say through Quranic guidance. Okay, whereas now, what do you think? What is Fasad? They're also solving problems. What are they solving problems with? Desires. Okay, they're solving problems maybe through how their nation looks at a certain thing. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of white supremacy within US, and you can see that's coming towards Canada as well. Okay, so now the outlook is that supremacy. My nation, my culture is more supreme. Okay, this can come with the Arabs as well. They might be Muslim, might not be Muslim, right? But Arab superiority, Indian superiority, okay, or this sect superiority. Okay, but that's desires. That's going to be, this is solving problems through a bias. Okay, so ultimately, we want to come to this level where we're able to solve problems in the world through proper guidance. Okay, which is guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Okay, and ultimately, fasad comes from transgression. Okay, just remove that. Fasad is coming from transgression. Okay, or it leads to transgression. You can see it works both ways. Okay, so a critical objective of Islam is now what? To move away from transgression towards taqwa. Taqwa will allow us to solve problems correctly. Okay, taqwa will, again, some people will say Islam means peace, right? How do you establish peace unless you're acting upon the guidance? Okay, it's an active role that we need to have. Okay, point number 2. 3 things, and I have repeated this several times, but again, there's for sake of, as a review, for sake of everybody. Okay, within Islam, there is wasail, there is maqasid, and there is jaza. Okay, so this objective goal, right? Objective, this is maqasid. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what the objective is. This is from God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you need to have taqwa. Okay, so alif lam mim dhalika al-kitabu la rayba fi. Who remembers the verse after that? Hudal lil muttaqin. Okay, guidance for those who have taqwa. Okay, so who will benefit from this guidance? Those who have taqwa. Okay, so objective is to have taqwa. Now this verse, by the way, Hudal lil muttaqin, it comes 3 ways. Okay, number 1, initial taqwa. Number 2, middle taqwa. Number 2, end goal is taqwa. Okay, so guidance, if you don't have even a tinge of taqwa, you'll never benefit from the guidance. Okay, number 2 is, the bigger thing is, if you have guidance, you will reach taqwa. Okay, so you can look at taqwa in varying levels. Okay, but ultimately the objective is taqwa itself. Okay. Allah gives us this. We have to have taqwa. Okay. What is wasa'il? Musa? No?
Means.
Don't remember? Means. Okay. Wasa'il is going to be means.
Oh.
How do we get to the objective? Okay. Allah also gives us how to get to the objective. Okay. And the thing is, the critical thing to understand is this is the only way to get to it. Okay. If you don't follow this equation, you will never get to the right objective. So someone will say, actually, let me give you a different example. Let me do some examples first. Give me one mean to attain taqwa. Salah. Okay, prayer. This is a different salah, right? This is salah with the
Small.
right? So this prayer is a means of attaining taqwa. Give me another example. Tadakkur, reminder. Okay. So tadakkur, by the way, Quran itself is a tadakkur, dhikr. Okay. To do tasbih, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. That's a dhikr. Okay. Reading the Quran is a dhikr. Okay. So Quran and other types of this is reminder. Okay.
Then all the fasting.
Fasting.
They're all
Okay.
needs.
Right? Fasting is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may attain taqwa. Okay. So zakat, it leads to tazkiyah, which will lead to taqwa. Okay. So everything, hajj means of taqwa. All the 5 pillars,
Can you also include jihad?
jihad, I think not. Okay. Because jihad is it is a means, but it's not means of taqwa itself. Okay. But although if you don't have taqwa, you will not be able to do things. But keep in mind, jihad is not an instruction. Jihad is not one of the 5 pillars.
It is
Okay.
the struggle.
It's a struggle. Okay. But possibly you can put jihad as a mean as well, because you have to do jihad with nafs. Okay, so jihad and nafs, we can say that is taqwa as well. Okay. So if you understand this, here's a question. Okay. If you do the means, you reach taqwa, what's the jaza? Jannah. So notice, our objective is not Jannah. Our reward is Jannah. So why do you worship Allah? And you say to a teenager, oh, because to get to Jannah. So what? Like Allah can't just give me Jannah? Okay, but Jannah is Allah's pleasure with you, because you made the effort to do the correct things in this world. Okay, the objective is to correct the environment that is around you. Yes.
When it comes to ourselves, like it's kind of hard to explain, but can you say that Allah created you for them? Like He didn't create you to send you to Jahannam. Of course, at the base level, He wants to send everyone to Jahannam.
I think I want to put a little bit of a tweak there. Allah created you so you're close to Him. Okay, and Jannah is you're close to Him. So ultimately, Jannah is your means of being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Guess what? And inshallah, we're going to get to this surah soon. Okay. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself serving you drink. Imagine that. Okay. And it's not like Allah is coming and giving you a drink in the hand, but imagine all of your sharab and tahura, right? That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Okay. Like whatever your needs are, Allah is fulfilling your needs now. Okay. Whatever you want is there for you. Okay. Even to the point you're thirsty and a spring sprouts out, a spring comes out and it fills you, right? So what it is Allah created you to be close to Allah.
That was just kind of because I remember a few weeks ago you said that like Allah's creation of us is even a mercy, and I kind of didn't really. I said I just asked, but I didn't really understand it at the time, and so like I was kind of just thinking recently, like obviously, okay, we're told we're supposed to be grateful for everything we have in the dunya from Allah, right? But like for example, I was thinking about just food and water, right? If Allah put us here to test us, it's kind of like the basic necessity that He would have to at least sustain us. So why should we be grateful? so I like was just thinking about it and compare it to like parents because they're really the only other people that can create life. And so like when you decide to have a child, you're not really thinking about I'm having a child because I want to give the child everything. You're having a child because you want to. Like it's going to give you something in return. But Allah doesn't get anything in return. So I started to think, why did Allah create you? And I I don't know if this is why I asked you if the conclusion is correct, but Allah created you to give you everything.
Allah created you. So what it is Allah created you for ultimate mercy. Right? So yes, to give it means the same thing, right? But keep in mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that only 1% of mercy has been sent down here. 99% he's keeping himself for you. Okay, so it comes down to the same conclusion. Okay, but it is for you to receive the ultimate mercy. Okay, and so your creation is a mercy,
Yeah.
except for those who refuse. Okay, so for those who refuse, for them, they have everything. I'm going to come to those points soon. They have everything to achieve the or follow the path of guidance, but they choose not to. Okay, but it's possible for every human being to actually achieve that mercy. So I think we're hopefully it's the same wavelength. Okay, all right. So now here's a question. Someone prays the dhikr, fast, all of those things, but it never leads to taqwa. It leads to something else. In fact, they persist in tughyan. Do they achieve Jannah?
No.
But they're praying. They're following the orders of Allah here, but they're not achieving taqwa. When I pray, I have the right intention.
Going through the motions.
You're going through the motions. Okay. What you have done is you turn these things into rituals. Okay. So even with the right intention, I have my ritual is just this prayer.
No, I mean, if your intention is to have. Like,
Yeah. But what it is the prayer has an effect on the rest, or should have an effect on the rest of your life. Okay? I'm going to mention that in point 3 in a moment. Okay. But prayer should have an effect on the rest of your life. Okay. So now someone prays, but then goes home and beats his wife. He didn't actually pray. Okay, someone who, and again, we're saying, just look at from a ritual perspective, it's sufficient. Okay, and do we have hadith to back this up? We have hadith to back this up. The Prophet ﷺ will give an example. Who's the bankrupt individual? Man muflis. Okay, bankrupt. So, Shayan, who's a bankrupt person? Someone who's no money. So the Sahaba said the same thing. Okay, someone who has no money. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ says, no, on the day of judgment, the bankrupt person is the person who comes full of fasting, full of prayer, full of charity, but he wronged this person and he backbit this person and he slandered this person and he cheated this person. And so really think about it. He's hurting a lot of people. And on the day of judgment, these people will line up and they will try to balance things out. Okay, but because of his salah, he's going to give his salah to these people. He'll give this fasting to these people. So that all the reward he's giving up. And the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith is saying, until he has no more good deeds, and these people are still lined up. And so now he will start taking other people's bad deeds until he earns Jahannam. Okay, so it's possible that someone, and this is a critical thing, right? This is why I'm arguing the big M and the small m. Okay, someone is just going through the motions versus someone who has fully submitted. Okay, for me, it doesn't matter that eventually you will enter Jannah, because just the fact you entered Jahannam, that's a huge punishment. Okay, and so our goal should never to be enter Jannah even for a moment. Okay, we're not like, think about it, it's like target practice, right? We were just talking about hunting, but we're going to talk about hunting with a bow and arrow. Okay, so if I'm aiming for this, okay, I actually have to aim higher, right? I have to aim here. Okay, the arrow will go up and hit the target. Or if I'm aiming low anyways. Okay, this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, aim for Jannatul Firdaus. You will enter Jannah at least. Okay, but someone is aiming for hellfire. Oh, sometime, eventually. I mean, you're aiming low, right? You're already aiming low. You're getting even lower, right? And keep in mind, in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ saying, one word can enter someone into Jahannam. A single word can enter someone into Jahannam. So we see the requirement of taqwa, how conscious we have to be. Someone utters one word. Someone said in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the reciters of the Quran are fat. Who's the main reciter of the Quran in the time of the Prophet ﷺ? The Prophet ﷺ. He's insulting the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ refused to talk to him, refused to look at him. Okay, he ruined himself by that hypocrisy. Okay, those type of statements to curse time. Who created time? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created time. To curse wind. Who created wind? Right? It's not like we're sending wind. You're cursing the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you curse that. Yeah.
If you go slightly up.
Yeah.
At the point of doing all these wasail and not with the right intention, is this the same thing that is referred to at the end of Surah Kahf, in which it says that people who are pleased with their amal, all of their amal are destroyed? Is it this?
I don't remember in Surah Kahf. Let's pull it up real quick.
It's probably ayah 107 or 106. Tahbat amaluhum.
100 and?
Yeah, close to 110 is the last ayah, so it's close to that.
أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم. Yes, all their deeds are فحبطت, meaning their deeds are invalidated. Okay, so someone could be doing, but rendering their deeds void. فحبطت أعمالهم. So it is they who reject the signs of the Lord and their meeting, rendering their deeds void. So we will not give their deeds any weight on judgment.
Just before it, and while they think they are doing good, that's
yes,
what.
That's the point. That's fasad. Exactly. That is fasad, in fact. Okay, so they're following their desires in order to do good. Okay, and so these good deeds will be invalidated.
Impression that hey, we are super pious and we will be granted the reward for the jaza, but since they're not doing the maqasid, that means that all these things are now worthless.
The issue here is, or another way of looking at it is, if you take the objective out of the picture, it becomes a ritual. Okay, then we're like any other religion at that point. Okay, we're just following a tradition. We're just following a ritual. We're just following a culture that is established. Okay, but that's not what Islam is for. Islam is submission. Okay, and really think about it. The Prophet ﷺ is coming. What's the main reason why people will say we can't follow you? When the Prophet ﷺ comes, okay, whether it's Mecca, whether it's people in Medina, why are people choosing not to follow the Prophet ﷺ?
The worldly desires.
Sort of. What's the excuse that they're giving? Yes.
Hypocrites.
Yes, but again, they're not even believers yet, right? So what excuse are they giving not to follow the Prophet ﷺ?
That our forefathers and fathers used to do.
Okay. Why did Abu Talib, his own uncle, refuse to accept Islam?
Reputation?
Sorry?
Reputation?
It's sort of reputation.
No.
I-
Someone now?
I didn't hear.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But it's my father never did this, my grandfather never did this. Okay, so why should I follow this? Okay, so this became like, okay, we need to have this intellect, we need to have this thought in everything that we do. We're not blindly following scholars. We're not blindly following tradition. We're not blindly following our own parents. Okay, and this is something critical. I will say right now, don't blindly follow people. Really think through it. Go back to the Quran and ponder upon the Quran. What is the Quran instructing us to? Is our scholars following the tradition of the Quran? Maybe they are, then you follow them. But maybe you find that they're stuck in their own tradition, but the Quran is guiding us to something else. At that point, follow the Quran. Okay. And it's possible that we don't have full understanding. So now you have a discussion. You think through things. Okay, point number 3. Okay, before I come to the point of thinking. Okay, we're all in need of constant revival. Okay, we're always in need of constant revival. Okay, so on one side, at a daily level, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us 5 salawat. Okay, so Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. And so we're thinking that these are the ibadah. Okay, let's look at it like at a big level. Okay, we're thinking Fajr is the ibadah. The reality is Fajr is a reminder for ibadah. Fajr is a dhikr. Okay, the meaning of dhikr is reminder. Okay, it's reminder for ibadah. Okay, Dhuhr is another reminder. So when is actual ibadah then? Sorry? So this arrow, right? This is where actual ibadah is. Okay, so actual ibadah is at this point. Okay, actual ibadah is between Dhuhr and Asr. Okay, actual ibadah is between Asr and Maghrib. Yes, sir.
You mean like the things which we do between the prayers, like in our personal life?
Yes.
Is that
That is the true ibadah. Have you submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every action and every way possible?
like in
Okay.
dealing with people and everything?
100% everything. Not just dealing with people. Are you cheating people?
Mm.
Someone prays but they cheat. Are they doing ibadah? No, right? Someone prays but they are lying to each other. They're charging interest to each other. They lost the ibadah. Okay, so your salawat are actual reminders. Reading the Quran, it should be done, right? But keep in mind, it's a wasail, it's a reminder, so that you are doing ibadah all throughout your day. Does that make sense? Okay, so salawat. But here's what I want to say is, I don't want to take salah out of the picture in any way or any form. I don't want to undermine it, because this is the only way to actually maintain ibadah throughout your day. If someone is not praying, take this out. For sure, they're not doing ibadah the rest of the day either. There's no reminder. Okay, and the problem is, it might start like this. Okay, so this is Dhuhr. Okay, you go even more. You start Fajr. At this point, you have the greatest ibadah, but slowly it declines. Okay, then another reminder comes. Okay, so you refresh yourself. You're back to a revived state. Okay, but then maybe it declines slowly. You're busy with work, you're distracted, all of those things. Well, Asr comes, okay, you revive yourself again. Okay, and so what it is when Dhuhr comes, yes, you made some mistakes, you had forgetfulness, that's human nature, but guess what? Dhuhr is a mean to correct yourself. It's repentance to Allah. It's to say, I'm going to go back and correct my actions, the wrong that I did. So true reflection, in fact, what it should be, if we're praying correctly, okay, let's say a whole year passes, okay, a whole year passes, my Fajr, the revived state from Fajr might not look like this, it might be actually a lot bigger. Because now it's having more effect on you. The problem is, we're living our entire lives, we're not improving. But the whole point is, these wasail are there for us to improve. We need to give conscious effort to them. Okay, well, we have this at the daily level, but then we have this at an yearly level. Yearly. Am I pronouncing that properly? Well, my 8th grade students always make fun of me. The ears? Okay, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce things properly. Okay, but then at a yearly level, okay, here you have Ramadan coming, right? And Ramadan is just coming. Okay, and inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to see Ramadan and be successful in Ramadan. But think about it, right? This Ramadan comes, what's the revival here? When we go through Ramadan, we come out of Ramadan, we should be in a really revived state. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So we come out with fresh taqwa, okay, which means, that over the year it declines, and there's a revival again. Okay, same thing. Attachment to materialism. Well, every year you have to give zakah. So we remind ourselves that we shouldn't have this monetary attachment. This money has been given to us by Allah, so we give a portion to others with that money. And so what should come out of zakah, if we did it properly, we should be giving sadaqah and after zakah, continuing to give sadaqah. Once in a lifetime revival now is what? Hajj, Umrah. So that's your once in a lifetime revival.
What's sadaqah?
Sadaqah is charity, but it's optional charity. Zakah is a mandatory charity. Okay? If you have certain amount, if you're rich, basically, right?
Yeah.
If you have certain amount of savings, then you give zakah. Okay? So if someone never has, so I think if you look at the gold standard, it's about 3,500, maybe because the value has increased, might be 4,500. Okay, so if you maintain $4,500, and you'll have to look up, everybody will have to look up their own thing, right? Where they are. And this is why the gold standard makes sense, because different countries will have different valuation of gold. So let's say you look up the amount of gold and the value is 4,500, and you maintain 4,500 throughout the year, then you give zakat on that
In your savings?
in your savings. But if you dip down 4,500, and it's not just savings, it's everything that is liquid.
Oh,
Okay, so for example, you would count your stocks, you would count your savings, you count all your investments. Okay, unless you're utilizing something. So for example, car you use, but that doesn't count. House you're living in, that won't count. But what about house that you're not living in? Well, the rent that come from it, you would pay zakat on that. Okay, so anything that you have money that you have access to, that's zakatable.
liquid assets which are
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
above your
It's like
needs, and a year has passed,
4,500
you
per
pay
month,
100,
year.
Per year.
like
So if I-
2.5% of
Oh,
No, it's not what you're making, what your savings are.
So like if my bank account is over 45.
Okay, so let's say on your bank account you have $5,500. Okay, Sharon is rich. We should, if you want to ask a loan, please ask Sharon. Okay, he has $5,500. Okay, look, give me a loan. This way you won't have to pay zakat. Okay, that's the good way of looking at it. Okay, so let's say you got this $5,500 deposit from Alberta's education, right? Or Alberta loans. Okay, so they put this let's make it 10,000. Okay, because they put it in for your university. Okay, your university cost is, let's say, for this semester, okay, for the first semester, which will be due in September, is 4,500. Okay, so you subtract 4,500. So in your bank you have 5,500. Okay, so you maintain this. This is September. October you maintain it. November you maintain it. Okay, you never go under 4,500. Okay, so maybe let's say you bought books, bought food. So by December, you're at 4,700. Is zakat due? Well, the whole year hasn't passed.
No.
Okay,
because
January comes, you have to give new tuition. Okay, so January comes, you give another 4,500, you have $300 left. Okay, but your dad says, okay, we'll keep your bank account at 5,500 level. So he deposits, he gives you whatever, right? So you're back to $5,500. Okay, and that continues all the way up to next August 2024. Okay, did you maintain $4,500 throughout the year?
No.
No, because in January you were below that. You have to pay zakat.
So like if I had over 4,500 throughout the whole year, and then at one point I was at 2,000, then I don't have to pay 2,000.
Correct. Okay, you went below the nisab. Okay, now you won't have to pay zakat.
So like,
Okay, but if you went only $4,600, but the amount is 4,500, you will have to pay zakat on the 4,600. Does that make sense? You pay on the lowest amount that you had throughout the year. Okay, so that's zakat. Okay, we'll talk more in detail about zakat. We'll do a full session on zakat. Okay, because we want to do it from both spiritual and perspective.
What if you do like charity, but like it's not because like it's a fact. You
Yeah,
just do it. Like,
that's just rewarded.
yeah.
Okay, that's just rewarded. Okay, so zakat again comes in on your wealth that you have saved up. It's a tough thing to give. So imagine, someone has a lot of savings. Okay, 2.5% still adds up. Okay, you would say 2.5 is minimal, but it's a struggle that you have to go give zakat. It's not an easy thing to do sometimes. Okay, especially someone who has, 100,000 saved up. It's significant amount. Okay. Quickly, let me add another page here.
That was a really good way of explaining that amplitude goes up and then that tapers down
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
your
really good.
zikr just
Okay.
divides it
Point number 4.
the year then.
A critical thing for us, okay, when we take all of these points together, okay, why Islam? What's the objective? This constant need for revival, okay? It means we have to be constantly in the state of thinking. Okay? Islam will always encourage thinking over blind following. Okay? What's the Arabic word for thinking? Okay? Fikr or tafakkur. Okay? Tafakkur, there's more effort. Okay? But essentially, there's a requirement for us to think through things. Okay, as opposed to blindly following whatever is being given to us. Okay, this is going to be a critical thing that is going to be a critical theme that is mentioned throughout the Quran. Okay, this is a critical thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is where thinking should stop. Okay, we'll mention this in the surah in a moment. Okay, this is Alam naj'al lahu aynayn wa lisanan wa shafatayn wa hadaynahu najdayn. We gave you the najdayn, 2 ways of thinking. What is that 2 ways? Right and wrong. You know what is right, you know what is wrong. Okay, and this thinking, you cannot achieve taqwa without thinking. Okay, and with this, I wanted to explain what taqwa actually is. Okay, so briefly, because this is like, we want to take it to a higher level, introduce certain concepts. In Arabic language, every word has a root word. How many letters in a root word in Arabic language?
3.
3? Anyone disagrees? Okay, so essentially, majority of the time it's going to be 3, sometimes 4. Okay, so there could be a 4-letter root word. Okay, everything has a root word. If I want to add more meaning to it, I add more letters to this. Okay, I increase in letters, same root word, but I increase letters in it, I add more meaning to it. Okay, so for example, let's look at fikr. Okay, 3 letters here. Fa, kaf, ra. Okay, tafakkur, ta, fa, kaf, ra. What did I do? I added 1 word, 1 letter, in fact. Okay, which is ta. Okay, so this is T, F, K, R, tafakkur. Okay, that 1 letter means the effort to think. Okay, it's not just thinking, it's the effort to think. So when we're adding the letter ta, there's an effort that is coming in. Okay, I'll give you a different example. Aun. Okay, this is ain. I don't know how to write ain and write it as a, right? I. Okay, because Imran, I, right? Wow, so O, N, right? Ion. Okay, aun. Okay, I'm just giving you an example here. Okay, Isti'ana. Look at this. I added seen, ta, isti'ana. The root word is aun. Okay. So, but I added ist to it. Anybody knows where isti'ana is mentioned in the Quran? Surah Fatiha.
إياك نستعين.
Iyaka nasta'een. Okay. Isti'ana. Isti'ana is to seek. Okay. Aun is help. Ist to seek help. Does that make sense for everybody? How Arabic language actually is? This is what Arabic language is. Okay. It makes things very, I don't want to say easy, but simple. It's not necessarily easy, but simplifies things for us because you can just add letters and learn a lot of things. Okay, so taqwa. Okay, because I want to explain taqwa a little bit here. Okay, taqwa. Look at what letter is in taqwa. The root of taqwa is waqa. What's the additional letter in taqwa? So this is waw, qaf, yeah. Okay, now look at taqwa. What's the additional letter here?
So
Additional letter is ta.
that means effort.
Okay, what does ta leads to? Effort. So when we say taqwa, what's the effort that we need to put in? Thinking. We have to be constantly thinking about what we're doing. Okay, as we eat, are we thinking about how we're eating? Are we thinking about the consequences of what we're eating? Are we thinking about the manners? Are we thinking about sharing? Are we thinking how Allah will hold us accountable for all the blessings we have? This thinking, meaning taqwa, is not a moment, it's constant. So it requires constant thinking here. It requires constant tafakkur here. Okay, all right. That leads us to point number 5. Your dignity and your honor. How does someone receive dignity and honor? What is it based on?
Effort.
Towards what?
Behavior,
Sorry?
behavior,
Towards what? What type of behavior? I mean, behavior can be positive and negative, right?
positive.
Positive behavior. Okay, towards what?
Effort.
Taqwa is there, okay? But again, what is Islamically? I want to focus on the word behavior. What do we have to behave as? Meaning what towards what?
I mean to say that we need to admire, respect people.
Respect?
Yep.
Manners? Behavior? Okay. And we said positive behavior. Okay. So notice this is not where salah is, right? Salah should lead us to positive behavior. Okay. But your dignity and honor is attached to this. Okay. Now, if we fail to revive ourselves, okay, this is why I mentioned as point number 5. If we fail to revive ourselves, where do people in the society attach their dignity and honor? Think about someone is non-Muslim. Worldly things. Okay, so they will say wealth, money. Right. Okay, so they will attach their value to wealth. Okay, so this is what all civilizations do. Okay, and so think about it. It's possible every civilization received a prophet. Okay, but over time it declines. They fail to revive themselves. Okay, so because they fail to revive themselves, at a certain point, they forget what the true objectives and goals are. So think about every civilization, they make materialism their goals and objectives. Now you live in that civilization, what do the citizens think? My nobility is with the rich people. They are respected. So in order for me to achieve respect, I also need to become this. Okay. Okay. I want to pause here and then I want to go into the surah. Okay. This surah, we're going to leave this and go straight to the surah. Okay.
Then Surah Fajr.
This Surah Fajr. I won't cover the whole surah. I want to say everything that I've mentioned is already there within Surah Fajr. For example, Wal Fajr wal Layalin Ashr. We'll talk about the specific of it next week. But how do we understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by Fajr? Okay, you can read tafsir, it gives you an answer. But the Quran is meant to engage with, which means we have to think through it. Okay, and when you think through it, it could mean when you're reflecting yourself, you might find a deeper meaning that is meaningful for you. Okay, and you might not get an answer right away, but that means with Quran, it's a repetition. It's a reminder. So you're reciting in Salah, you're reciting in Salah, you're reciting. At a certain point, something clicks in. That connection is way more better than someone just giving you an answer. Okay, I will give an answer next week, but Fajr, okay, you're gonna say, well, that's the dawn. But it could have other meanings of Fajr as well. Something that erupts, something that comes out. Of course, we're saying the sun is coming out, but then what's the connection of that with Laylin Ashr, 10 nights? And you're gonna say 10 nights of Ramadan. But is that what it means? Okay, how is that connected to Fajr? Okay, I'm not saying it's not, because the tafsir will say it's a 10 nights of Ramadan, or it's 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, it's the 10 nights of Muharram. Okay, so the tafsir will say different things. I'm saying make the connection yourself. Okay, وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوِتْرِ, even and odd. So you're like, oh, that's definitely Ramadan. The odd nights in Ramadan. Okay, so think about it for a moment. But here's the point. I was talking about thinking. Okay, هل في ذلك قسم الذي هجر. Okay, what is hijr? Is where thinking comes and stops. Where does your thinking lead you to? Okay, where does your thinking, is your thinking leading you to the wrong things, or is your thinking leading you to the right thing? Okay, at a certain point, this should lead you to a conclusion. Okay, so everybody, the place where thinking stops, okay, and so everything Allah makes you think, it should, or everything that is around you, it should make you stop and think. Okay, I'm gonna say the Fajr itself. Do we ever think about Fajr? Do we stop and think about Fajr? When the sun is coming out, are we reflecting how that amazing thing is happening? Think about it. The sun is moving, the earth is moving, everything is moving, and we're revolving and everything. And yet, every day the sun comes up. Are we thinking, are we reflecting upon that? Okay, the 10 nights. Okay, we're gonna say Ramadan, all those things. But think about this is the sun, or it's Fajr. I think the 10 nights is referring to the moon. How so? There's 10 nights that the moon becomes bigger, 10 nights it remains, in that full form, and then the 10 nights of decline. Same thing, Fajr, right? The sun comes up, it revolves, it goes down. That's the day, but then the moon has the full cycle of a month. Okay, so it's divided into 10 nights. Okay, you might have a different reflection there, but what are these 10 nights? Okay, Shaf'i wal watr, what is odd and even? Have you ever thought about odd and even? Our thinking is not coming to that, right? We're not pondering upon these things. We're not contemplating upon these things. Okay, I talked about civilizations and their decline. This surah will talk about this. I want to come to the critical point, okay, for my conclusion here. If you follow these civilizations, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eventually mentions, فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ. Okay, when mankind or man, إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ, is tested. From Allah's perspective, it's a test. Okay, what's the test? فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَمَهُ. He's giving more blessings. Okay. فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي. He says, فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمًا. Allah has honored me. Okay. So think about it. Is your honor connected to wealth? If someone is given wealth, even if they're Muslims, non-Muslim, is there honor attached to it? This is a messed up way of thinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this is what the people, materialistic people think. Okay. Followed with where is it? I missed it. Did I not write it? وَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. When Allah tests them by فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْق, meaning constraining their sustenance, they say, Allah has humiliated me. Yeah, I don't have it written down here. Okay. So they attach their, what did they attach their honor to? Worldly things. If I'm poor, I'm dishonored. If I'm wealthy, I'm honored. There's the worldly way of thinking. I think I should have it somewhere.
Is that ayah 11?
I don't know what happened to their slides.
It's 23, and then if you go down, is it 24?
Yeah, I'm at 15,
You're 15.
and then goes 7, and then I don't have those verses written down. Okay, let's do this. Where it's my last point. Okay, we'll end in 5 minutes, and then we can do question and answers. Why do these people of money don't deserve honor and dignity? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kalla, no. Bal la tukrimun al-yatim. They don't honor the orphans. ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين. They don't feed the miskin. وتأكلون تراث أكلا لما. They eat the wealth of inheritance. Okay, they are rich or poor, whatever it is, right? Because of the attachment to the world, right? They don't want to lose their money by giving to the orphans. They don't want to lose their money by giving to the miskin. They in fact will, when it comes to inheritance, they'll cheat their own thing. That wrath, meaning to cheat inheritance, you're cheating your own family members. Okay, and this is like common within our culture, right? To cheat within inheritance. Okay, why do they do this? تُحِبُّونَ مَا لَا حُبًّا جَمًّا. They do this because of their intense love of wealth. Okay, so if I go back to my point number 5, honor and dignity is attached to helping others.
That's the true one, in true sense.
True sense. True sense is attached to taking care of the orphans, taking care of the miskin, justice. When you're giving inheritance, you do justice. The true dignity is with righteous actions. Okay, let's make a full circle. Okay, what should taqwa lead to? What does taqwa lead to? Bir. Okay, bir is iman and amal salih. Okay, salah is to solve problems with Quran or iman. Okay, now when problems occur, right, whether there's orphans, that's a problem, right? When there's miskin, when there's inheritance to be given, how are you going to solve these problems?
You have to solve it with Iman.
You have to solve it with iman. Okay, so I hope this gives you a full circle here. I didn't touch, inshallah, next week I'll do the tafsir of the surah itself. But don't look at Islam. My whole point is don't look at Islam as a tradition or as rituals. Look at Islam as something you need to engage with. You need to interact with. We ourselves need to think through Islam. Okay. And here's the thing. I think one of the major Assalamu alaikum.
It was a very beautiful lecture.
No, that's not all. Okay. One of the major problems we as a community has created, we have made Islam into a ritual. Okay, just pray, it's enough. Okay, but rather the goal of Islam is to pray as a reminder, so you're submitted to Allah throughout the day, throughout every single moment. Okay, last example. Okay,
Can we summarize it in a way that we can say that Islam is a way of life in which it is applicable in every single thing that we do in life?
100%.
And it's just the in between the all these wasail are the reminders, but the actual ibadah is the day and night.
100%. I think to say it as a way of life, but way of life in every single moment. Okay, so the last example I want to give, I usually bring my daughter, she is sick again. Okay, I think it's exhaustion. I think it's exhaustion. She gets exhausted. She came home on Friday, and even then, teacher wanted to send her home early. She said, "No, I don't want to go home early." She came home. She collapsed, and
Yeah, lucky.
then she's good today, alhamdulillah, but I don't want her to get exhausted for tomorrow. Okay, but I woke up, I prayed Fajr. Okay, I told her to plug in the ironing, open the ironing board, plug it in. I need to iron a shirt that I want to wear. It wasn't the laundry. I didn't iron it. So plug it in. Okay. I prayed Fajr. I prayed with her. Okay. And then afterwards, I went to iron it. And something very silly. She didn't pull the entire cord of the iron out. Okay. So I didn't even pay attention. I'm just, reciting my adhkar, and I started ironing my shirt, and the cable pulled, the thing fell, and I dropped the iron, and I yelled at her. What's the problem? Analyze this. What's the problem?
Your salah did not.
The problem is I just prayed salah. Okay, meaning I never went through, my salah never caused me to increase my level of taqwa. Okay, how is it possible that someone prays but is not a peaceful person? There's a huge problem here, right? That someone prayed, but he's less peaceful after praying. Okay, that means you didn't focus. I should say in this case, I didn't focus on Fajr whatsoever. Okay, and I think this is a critical lesson for us to focus on. And of course, eventually we want to each one of us need to reach a level where everything that we're reciting, the Quran itself, we're able to reflect on the Quran itself, or within the Salah itself. Okay, so Salah is a reflection of the Quran. Okay, for the longest time, I'm like, what's the point of memorizing the Quran? The point of memorizing the Quran is so you can recite it in Salah and you can reflect upon it freely on your own. That's the point of memorizing the Quran. Okay, so if someone doesn't do that, how are they doing it within Salah? Okay, so think from that perspective, that you're connecting with the Quran. Memorizing means is that you're repeating it, you're repeating it, you're repeating it, you're repeating it. You have the ability to repeat it as many times as you want, which means every time you recite it, you should find a new reflection within that. Every time, okay, what else do I need to be praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Make your salah. This is the main wasa'il. If we don't follow this wasa'il, so one thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, okay, but if we don't follow these means, for sure we're never reaching taqwa. Even though this is the objective, someone will say, and this is, the modernists, they will do so, okay? But you don't pray 5 times a day. Well, the goal is objective is to remember Allah. I remember Allah 100 times a day. Okay, how do you remember Allah 100 times? I do astaghfirullah, 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 subhanallah, 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 subhanallah. Okay, the only way to remember correctly is whatever Allah gave you to do. So if someone is not praying, okay, and even though they're doing adhkar, it's not going to achieve the result for you. Okay, and really think about it. Touching your forehead on the ground, what does it mean?
We are submitting ourselves.
Go deeper. Yes, a submission. Go deeper. You're humiliating yourself. Allah is the greatest, you are the lowest. That's the submission, right? That's the level, or I want to say level of submission. Okay, all right. I'm done for today. Conversation. What conversation we need to have?
Can I ask any one of you, for these two people, they had to go to a funeral, can any one of you volunteer to summarize whatever points you remember or the greatest points that you remember so that these two can benefit and it's a reminder for all of us as well?
I just want to say that one thing that I got from him was that Islam is highly interactive. Like you need to think about each action and each intention. So you need to connect those two, because I remember that personal example he brought up how he made a mistake after story you just said about Mason. He made a mistake at home. I don't want to go into the details, but after Fajr. And that's a key point to me, because the point of the prayers is to revive your taqwa throughout the day, so that each moment you're remembering why you prayed. Because if, like he said, if you pray but you're not calm afterwards, then did you pray? Like actually pray, or were you just going through the motions?
Also,
Very
one
good
thing-
point. Please.
also one thing which is most important is that when we are praying, after the prayer, if we are not changing the way we are dealing with people or the way we are living our life, then that is no use of praying, because prayer should affect our whole life. It's not just 5 minutes we are giving to Allah and then doing our things on regular basis. Unless and until we are not focusing on the things which we are doing in the life correctly, then there is no use of you praying. So if you are praying on time, then you need to also make sure that whatever things you are going through in your life, you should also implement that things honestly and correctly. Like not betraying someone or not backbiting or not cheating on someone and stuff like that.
Thank you. Brother Musa, you're under the bus.
I just, that's my point.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I just emphasize this point a little bit? Okay, instead of prayer, Ramadan is fasting. Okay, and so someone can fast ritually, right? But this hadith, everybody knows this hadith, right? This is repeated every Ramadan. This is in Sahih Bukhari, one of the most authentic hadith. Whoever does not give up false statements and evil deeds and speaking bad words to others, Allah is not in need of his fasting and leaving his, or in need of leaving his food and drink. Right? It's connected to Salah, right? But Allah is not in need of this, right? Because the whole point is for you to leave your bad deeds. Okay, Jazakallah khair. But I wanted to support it with a hadith.
A question, and that's, for me, it's a chicken and egg problem, personally, is do you attain khushu in Salah through a lot of thinking, or is it the other way around? Once you attain khushu, you'll start thinking? Because to me, honestly, I Alhamdulillah, like if you go to the wasail or the ritual part of it, yeah, I do. But do I really feel engaged every single time? Or most of the time is all these worldly things, oh, okay, well, these assignments are due, kids have not done homework, this is due, whatever. How can we, or can we have some part of your discussion whenever you feel like is the most appropriate time? Because you said it rightly that Salah is such an important thing, and it's 5 times reminder, and it's the key reminder. The others are less frequent, once a year, once in a lifetime, or all of those things, or zakah is once a year. But Salah is daily. Salah is the best way to connect, and particularly, like we said in Sujood, Alhamdulillah, I think with the Hajjat, it makes difference. I think if and when I offer the Hajjat, it's different feeling because it's very quiet and that time of the morning. But if particularly Zohar, Asr, it's all you're thinking, hey, yeah, as soon as I do this, and
Yeah. I think the word that I mentioned with taqwa is the effort that's required. Okay. And there is a level of effort that we need to aspire towards. Okay. And oftentimes, yes, it's possible that we're busy and we might not get the full objective of Salah. Okay. The thing is that means we need to make effort in the next one. Okay. So we cannot allow I don't think we should get to a point where we allow each Salah to become lost without reflection. And whether it's before Salah or during Salah, I think it's circular, like I said, chicken and the egg. It is both. Okay, that before we come to Salah, do we do proper wudu? Do we come with the proper intention? Do we purify ourselves? So it's tazkiyah portion that's coming even before Salah. One thing that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala will say, that how is it possible that you're saying ihdina sirat al-mustaqim? Adil, what's the meaning of ihdina sirat al-mustaqim?
Allah guide me the straight path.
Okay, oh Allah, guide me to the straight path, right? So how is it possible someone's asked to be on the straight path, but they didn't ask for forgiveness for the sins that they just committed? You're thinking, what is the straight path? The straight path is to be without the sins. But you're committing sins, yet in Salah you're asking for ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Okay, so he's just reflecting that you cannot be put on a straight path until you yourself are getting rid of your sins. That means one of the things we need to do before coming to Salah, or and people will do that after adhan, after iqamah, astaghfirullah, 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 and then they say Allahu Akbar, right? People will do this, right? But I think that even astaghfar should not be a ritual. That we're truly reflecting on the things that we just made mistakes in, and with the intention that right after Salah, I'm going to correct that thing. Okay? And of course, one of the major things is we don't know the meanings of what we're reciting. Okay? So we have to go back and constantly review what we're reciting. And it doesn't mean that we perfect Salah, and this is for you, all the brothers here, that it doesn't mean that we perfect Salah immediately, right? Instantly. Rather, take a piece of Salah and perfect that piece. Okay, so take Allahu Akbar, for example, and try to perfect that. Or even go even smaller. Just the first Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. So my goal is, at this action, I'm going to forget about all the other dunya. And this moment, Allah is the greatest. Okay, build that. Then what will happen? You'll do another Allahu Akbar. So as you build this, so after you recite Surah Fatiha, after you recite, and you're about to go into ruku, in that moment, now you practice. I'm going to get rid of all my worldly desires before I go into ruku. So you say, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. My world is not the greatest. Now you go into ruku. Before going to sujood, then practice Allahu Akbar before going into sujood. Okay, what it is even think about it, Brother Akhtar, that within Salah, you constantly have to remind yourself with Allahu Akbar. Before you can go to the full humility, you have to start with ruku. That's a reminder. Ruku is a reminder for sujood. Right? That I'm about to go into sujood. Let me do a smaller sujood.
So in my case, may Allah forgive me, I kind of struggle with the initiative to get up and pray, depending on what it is that I'm doing. And so as I'm trying to build a habit for myself, do you think that what you're saying, because what I've gathered is that this should almost kind of be like a benchmark, right? That once you realize what it is that you're praying for and kind of implementing that into your life, I would personally almost find it kind of like a counter logic to use that as a benchmark, because, and I just want your thoughts on this, your stance on it, just for the fact that it would almost feel discouraging that I'm trying to build a habit of Salah, and then I'll do the salah, I'll do the actions and try and feel how you're describing, but then I'll go do something that isn't coherent with those actions. Would that almost not feel like I'm not making progress and therefore I don't even have the habit down and now I don't even have what you're describing down?
So then you look at, okay, I'm at this level.
Mhm.
Okay, what's the small improvement I need to make?
Right,
Okay, so you're gonna say at least for the next 5 minutes, I'm in istighfar. I
right.
want to continue my dhikr for the next 5 minutes, right? And then eventually you increase upon that. I think the problem is we never perfected the salah to begin with, right?
Mhm.
So start with a small aspect. Start with Allahu Akbar. Eventually you get to Assalamu alaikum. Where Allah spreads peace amongst ourselves. Okay, so eventually you get to that level. Okay, within salah, think about it. You say Allahu Akbar, get to the level where you're actually thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so instead of saying, okay, I'm going to go back to my regular life, okay, my regular life, and there's so much advantage we have, so much benefit we have. We need to be constant state of gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't that Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen? Right? So now start the benchmark you are at. Your goal is not to remain at that level. Okay, so think about for the next salah, what additional thing I'm adding? What additional thing that I'm adding? Okay, maybe it's not a salah to salah, maybe it's day to day, maybe it's week to week, but we should aim to better ourselves. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Because
that
the
was
thing
the
in my mind
question.
is that like progress is never sporadic, right? Like as quickly as you can shoot up in progress is as quickly as you shoot down. So it's all linear. And so as long as there's consistent discipline
Yeah,
and there's
but think about it, it's like this, right? We always draw this, right? Like basically your stocks, right?
yeah,
Your
and that's kind of like what I'm
overall
talking
over a
about.
period of 20 years, okay, like it might be going up and down, but it's like this, right?
Yeah.
That's where you want to be, right? Ultimately, we are still human beings. Okay, with human beings, there is prone to making mistakes, prone for forgetfulness, prone for distractions. Okay, the problem is when you go through a dip, you want to go back up.
Yeah.
And you want to be thinking enough that, oh, I went through a dip. It's not that, oh, I went through a dip. Okay, I'm going to remain in this dip. Okay, so don't make that dip. Okay, now you go through a dip and then you just make that dip. Don't do that, right? Oh, you make one mistake. Don't let that ruin it. And this is going back to at-tawwab, right? Allah is at-tawwab. Allah is off returning. Okay, and think about every blessing that's attached to istighfar. Okay, and salah is istighfar. So constantly our goal should be to go back to Allah, go back to Allah, go back to Allah. But don't like denigrate your ibadah in a way that, oh, I'm not achieving enough. It's a work in progress.
Mhm.
And the thing is, are you sincere? Are you making an effort? Okay. And Allah will judge each person on their own level, right? On their sincerity, on their humility, on their effort. Okay. So compare yourself to your, past self, and then move a lot of course forward. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Any other points, comments, thoughts?
I have it out.
You have it?
I have it out, I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, what's the difference between Islam and humanity?
Sorry?
Like, I mean,
Islam and
humanity.
humanity? There is no difference. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you in one way. Okay, the difference. Islam is the natural order of how Allah created you. Okay, okay. So let me add a page here and I'll explain this. But what it is it's an unbiased version of humanity. Okay, so let's say this is humanity. Okay, and a civilization comes and they have their interpretation of humanity. They're looking at from one angle. They'll say, this is humanity. Okay, someone else will come and say, this portion is humanity. So they'll say, this is humanity. Another perspective will come and say, this is humanity. Okay, so why is that the case? Okay, and it could be possible there's a corrupted version of it, right? There's a corruption around it, and people are saying that is humanity. Okay, the reality is humanity itself, Islam is saying what is the true nature of a human being. Okay, and if someone is moving away from submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are corrupting their true nature. Okay, so what can we say is humanity now? Okay, so if I were to say humanity, okay, I'm just going to say 6 slices, could be a lot more. Okay, between all of them, there is fitra. I don't know how to erase this. Let's see. I need to become an artist. Okay, this is how everyone is born. Okay, so what's what's the main human thing about everybody? Everybody's born that, oh, there's a creator. Okay, so denial of that creator is violation of that of humanity. Okay, or to ascribe another creator, that's also violate the creator, because the next thing is aqal. Okay, so fitra is natural disposition. Everybody with Islam will say everyone within themselves have this natural disposition. What is aqal? Ability to think. Okay, if you take away thinking from human beings, how do you take thinking away from human beings? Anybody can guess? Yes.
Distraction.
Okay, so give them cell phones. Okay, drugs. What else? Alcohol, right? Addictions. Okay, what else? How do you take thinking away from people?
Tell them what to think.
Sorry?
Tell
You
them.
tell them what to think. How do you tell them what to think? Education. Give them education. Okay, that's indoctrination. Okay, you took them away from thinking. Okay, now if someone is thinking, right? Really think about it. Okay, their fitra is there's a God. They're thinking. They're thinking clearly. Okay, and they've been taught how to think. They know how to think, and they're not indoctrinated. They'll come to realize that if there were two God, and both are as powerful as each other, and both are creating, because God's create, right? That means there will be a world or universe of disorder, because things would not be compatible. Okay, which will lead to fasad in the universe. And so Allah subhanahu in the Quran will say, look at the universe, you don't find any disorder. Okay, clear thinking. Okay, what about heart, qalb? Okay, so you see a bomb being dropped on a hospital, and children died. Okay, on one side, do you have feelings that, oh, that's bad? Isn't that humanity? Humanity is, I'm hurt because those children died, those babies died, those women died. That's humanity. Now think about American level or US level or Western level, what's happening? No, don't worry about them. They are evil. Okay. In fact, to say they're not human at all. Hamas are not human. Okay. And even go back to thinking, right? What was the most recent one? Under the UNRWA, station, they have server farms and all of those things. You look at it, just think. Those are not servers. They only have one rack of server. Every company has one rack of server. Okay, everything else are not servers. You can just look at it in their batteries. Okay, so thinking, heart, what else is a human being? Ruh, your spirit. What about your spiritual self? Okay, we don't develop our spiritual self. If you're always into money and chasing the dunya, humanity is lost. How do we actually just contemplate, think? That's what prayer is for, to spiritually connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your nafs, your psyche, right? To be able to be positive, to be able to think positively, to have optimism. That's your psyche. You could be sad, but be optimistic. Okay, you can be optimistic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help these people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the end of things, everything will equalize. Okay, so you have this psyche. Okay, think about how do people violate the psyche? Okay, it can go back to same thing, addictions, right? So I'm so messed up. I have to go to these. Okay, I come from work, and this is the society. The society does that, right? I'm gonna come from work, and I'm gonna sit down and follow an addiction. Okay, and this is Muslims, non-Muslims, right? So non-Muslims, they'll take a beer, okay, to forget. Okay, modern day non-Muslims, they'll take a smoke, right? They'll do a, what is it called? A blunt? I don't know what they call it now. Okay, but they will get high. Okay, to forget. Okay, what do? Watch TV, right? Go into a different level of this addiction, trying to forget to care, trying to forget our psyche. So we have this, and I hope this is trying to, hopefully it's making a little bit sense. But okay, jism as well, right? Body. Okay, this is part of human nature. Okay, what do? We corrupt the diets of everybody. Okay, fast food everywhere, sugary drinks everywhere, right? Chocolate everywhere, right? And it's not even like, dark chocolate, it's the corrupted chocolate. Okay, so we did that so people's bodies are corrupted. Okay, so when we look at this, is Islam going to be, is it human? Islam wants you to connect with the universe. Okay, here's a simple answer for you, brother. Okay, when the sun shines, okay, what is the sun supposed to do? The sun, what is it supposed to do? Okay, so the sun, okay, provides light. What else is supposed to do? Heat. The sun's job is to burn, right? It's burning itself. That's the sun's job. If it stops burning, it disobeys Allah, right? That's the natural order. The natural order for the sun is to burn. Okay, now think about it. What's the natural order for us? Islam. So what happens is, when I was saying this is Islam, this is human, this is humanity, this is humanity. Someone say only this is humanity. That's your philosophers, right? Someone will say only this is philosophy. That's your Gnosticism, that's your Sufism, that's all that stuff, right? Someone will say only this is philosophy or this is humanity. The reality is the human nature as a whole, right? We have to look at it as a whole. Look at what's it meant for, okay? And so your answer, the question that you have is, I'm hoping I'm addressing it a little bit, okay? That Islam wants you to be human. Okay, how can you be human? Be grateful to Allah. Human nature, think about it. What would human nature rather have? Competition or compassion? Compassion, right? Human nature wants compassion. What does the world system tells you? Capitalism, right? Compete in capital. You see the human nature? Allah wants compassion for you. Everybody else wants competition for you. Hope that helps.
And I think we missed the movement in Pakistan, Mera Jism Meri Marzi.
Yeah, but you have, if you take it holistically, those things will not come. Yeah.
That's just one perverted view of.
Yeah. All right, let's pray.
Inshallah.
All right, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Jazakallahu khairan kaseera. Amen.